In this chapter, we are going to learn how to build a leave application, that is a full stack solution what we are going to build as a mini project with the help of Oracle integration. Also, we are going to make use of processes and the visual builder as well. So this chapter will cover the following topics. We will learn how to build a full stack solution, as I told, for leave application with the help of Oracle integration. We are going to create user interface with the help of visual builder. We are going to create the workflow for the leave approval with the help of processes in Oracle integration. Also, we'll learn how to build integrations between various applications with the help of Oracle integration. The classes which we have covered for this chapter are as following. It includes the introduction for this chapter, which is the current class what you are watching. The next class in the chapter is we will learn how we can build an integration, and also we will learn how we can create a leave application business object. So this business object will act as a persistent store for us. We are not going to make use of database, rather we will make use of this business object which is available in Visual Builder as a data source. So the next class we will learn how to build a workflow with the help of processor. We will add the logic. As soon as the user applies for a leave, it will go for approval to a manager. Manager can approve, reject, reassign, or ask for more information. Those actions the manager can take, or the approver one. Also, this workflow will have the logic for the approver 2. As soon as approver 1 approves the request for leave, it will go to approver 2. Once approver 2 approves, so the leave application will complete. And in the subsequent class, we are going to learn how to create a user interface with the help of Visual Builder or VBCS. And in the final class, we are going to test and validate this mini project, that is leave application project end to end. Right from raising a request for a leave from Visual Builder application page, it will go to the workflow. We will learn how we can approve the request. Also, we will track how the integration will update the status back to Visual Builder business objects with the help of REST APIs. Now the question will arise, why do we need to watch this chapter? So at the end of this chapter, you will be able to take up your next assignment in Oracle integration processes, Visual Builder very confidently. So you will gain a confidence to build a full stack solution with the help of integration process and Visual Builder. You will be very much comfortable in building integrations between processes and the Visual Builder. You will learn how you can initiate a process or start a process right from Visual Builder from the action chain. Also, you learn how you can create a user interface to apply for a task, and also you can track the status of the leave application right from the Visual Builder screen. Here is the small glimpse of the mini project what we are going to create in this course. We are going to create a Visual Builder page specifically for employee management, and in that we are going to add this apply leave. On click of that, it will land into this leave application page wherein the user will enter the employee ID from date to date reason. As soon as the user clicks on this apply, it will trigger the action chain and it will calculate the number of days user has requested for leave, and it will pull the manager's details, who is the manager, and the HR contact or approver 1, approver 2 details for the employee, and it will pull other details as well which are required to initiate the process. So in the process, as you see over here, it will be triggered over form as well as a message. With the help of form, you can initiate the request with the user interface right from the process as well as from the Visual Builder as well. So Visual Builder will be able to create the process instance over both the things like the form as well as message. And even if we are exposing our process with the help of start event, even integration will be able to initiate this leave application. So next thing is we are going to make use of integration and update the details like what is happening in this process. Like in this case, it has gone to approver 1 for approval. Those things will be updated as a status for the leave application. So approver 1, if approver 1 feels that that person is not intended to approve the request, then approver 1 might change the approver 1's email address and reassign, so that it will be reassigned to a different person. If approver 1 requires more information, it will go to this more information and it will go to the person who has initiated the leave request. The initiator can modify the details and then they can resubmit. Again, it will come to approver 1. If approver 1 is still not happy, then approver 1 can reject the application. If you see, at every stage we are updating the status. Here it is saying that more info is requested by approver 1. Here it will tell like leave application got rejected. In case it is approved, it will go to next to approver 2. So once it goes to approver 2, then approver 2 will have only two options, either reject or approve. So accordingly, the action will be taken and status will be updated in the database or business object, whatever we have used. If you see over here in the swim lane, we are having three roles: initiator, approver 1 and approver 2. So basically all those users, initiators, approver 1, approver 2, they must have access for the specific roles. So basically approver 1, approver 2 or the initiator must be assigned to those roles in order to carry out the operations. So this was the short glimpse on what we are going to build in this mini project. To learn in depth how we can build this mini project, please watch this entire course and practice on your own. If you practice properly, you will gain a knowledge like how you can make use of integration, visual builder as well as process, and build a full stack solution with the help of Oracle integration, so that you can take up your next assignment and even crack your interviews very easily. In this class, we are going to learn how we can update a business object which is present in Oracle Visual Builder with the help of Oracle integration. In order to begin with, we need to first of all create a business object. Now let me head over to Visual Builder instance and create a business object first. I have opened this Learning VBCS application. So under this application, I will go for business objects. We already have 3 business objects, but for this demonstration, I will be creating a business object which will hold the details for employees leave application or leave record. Click on plus create over here and select business object. Under label, I am giving the name as leave application. If you want, you can put the suffix as BO as well at the end. As we didn't add for other business objects, I am not adding. But it's always a good practice to end any business object label with BO. Click on create. Our leave application business object has been created. Now we need to define few fields. Click on this fields option over here. By default, those fields will be auto created. Now in order to create our new fields, click on this plus and select this field. First we will try to capture employee ID. It is of string type. Click on create field. Next we need the field to hold the date. Let me select this of type, this date, leave start date. Click on create field. Next we need the leave end date. Suppose if the person is applying for the duration of days for a leave, then we can hold when the leave will start and when the leave will end. Let me give the name as leave end date. This is of type date again. Click on create field. Again we need to create one more field over here, that is for the approver. I am giving approver 1. Suppose our approver 1 is a manager, approver 2 is HR. So we will consider this approach. Click on create field. Next we will create approver 2. Approver 2. At extreme cases, suppose if a person is applying for a maternity or paternity leave, in that case, if the hierarchy of the organization is such that the leave must be approved by manager and HR, then this will be for that purpose. Click on create field. We do have this employee ID field. We have leave start date, end date, approver 1, approver 2. Now we will create few more fields over here. Under labels, I will add status in order to know what happened to our application. Suppose I applied the leave application today. As this is not synchronous, different approvers might approve the request as and when they are available or as per their feasibility. So we need to know as a user or an initiator of the application what is the status of the leave request. For this purpose, I am adding over here the status field. Click on create field. We are done with the adding details. Now let me select this status field. When the leave application is created for the first time, it won't hold the status. In that case, I want to set it to some default value. So we need to select the static value. I am providing here the details like NA. It looks like I have made the spelling mistake over here in the approver name. So let me correct it. Approver. Done just about. Yeah, it got corrected. Now switch over to this data. What we'll do is we won't add this data manually by clicking on this plus row or by importing the file. Rather, we will make use of endpoint. Before consuming this endpoints in our integration, we will first test with the help of Postman. Now let me switch over Postman and create a project which will insert the record into our business object. I have created the Postman project wherein I have made use of this endpoint. If you have forgotten how we can make use of the endpoint, go to endpoints here in the business object. So this will be our endpoint or the host name we can get from this. If we are making use of development, if our application is staged, then we can make use of this URL. If our application is published or it's live, then we can make use of this URL. So after adding that, we can just append this live application / and make use of post in order to create. So this is what I have used. If I show you the URL, it looks something like this. That is what I have shown just now, /live application. And in the body, this is of HTTP method post, and the body contains employee ID, who is applying for the leave start date, end date, approver 1 and approver 2. Just for the demonstration purpose, I am adding it over here, but this should come dynamically from some database or some application, like who is our manager. It should be pulled dynamically based on our employee ID or our project assignment. Now let me switch over to this instance and click on data. As of now, we don't have any details here in the live application. I will click on this send button. We got 201 created, and if you just look at the response, you will get the details. Now let me refresh it over here. If I refresh, I am getting the details for live application. So like this, we can test with the Postman. Now let's switch over to Oracle Integration and see how we can update this business object with the help of REST API using integration. I'm here in the Oracle Integration instance. Before proceeding, we need to create a connection. Let's switch over to Connections tab over here. Click on Create. I will search with REST. Select this REST connection. Click on Select. Provide the name REST OIC con. I will name this as. Role I am selecting trigger and invoke. Click on Create. I will pause the video over here and fill all the details, and then we'll resume this class. I have filled all the details in this connection. Connection type I have selected as REST API base URL TLS version 1.2, and connection URL I have provided up to .com, which is my visualbuilder host address. SSL I have made it as enabled S, and the basic authentication username, password, agent group null. That's it. Just exit this connection. After creating the connection, we will head over to Integrations tab and create the integration. I will create app driven integration for this demonstration. Click on app driven, click on select, leave application, update status. Click on create. Here in the trigger connection, I am selecting my REST OIC connection. Provide the name. I am giving as trigger. Click on next. What does this operation do? This will update the status of leave application. Click on post. Endpoint I will give as update status. So this will accept the request, and as well as it will send the response back. Click on next. Request payload, I am selecting JSON sample. Click on inline. Here let me copy the same thing from here, from the request, and paste it over here. Apart from this, I will put status as well. Yeah, looks good. Click on OK. Click on next. In the response, I will add this JSON sample. Click on inline. I will construct the message over here. So in the response, I want to display the message along with status and the status. I will just rearrange this. I want status to be at the top, followed by message. Done. Click on OK. Click on next and click on done. I will change the layout style to horizontal. Just click on save. There is the error over here. I will update the tracking variable for this. Go to tracking, just toggle the employee ID to the right, click on save. Save the integration. Now the next step after getting the request from the trigger is to make a call to visualbuilder business object REST API and update the details. We'll do that now. Before proceeding ahead, let's look at the endpoint, how we can update the record in the business object. I'm switching over to this application, go to endpoints, scroll down. So in order to update any record or the leave application which is created, we need to go for this patch and update. Here we need to pass the leave application ID. If we go to fields, leave application ID is nothing but, let's go to data. It is this field ID, not the employee ID. So we need to have the provision to send ID as well in the request. So let me head over to this integration and modify the trigger. So in the request, apart from employee ID, let's assume that the source application will pass ID as well. Now go to this request, go to inline. Here we'll add leave application ID 3. Done. Click on OK. Click on next. Click on next. And done. Click on update. Now as soon as you modify any trigger connection, your tracking variable data will be gone. Now let's consume this visualbuilder REST API with this REST OIC con. I will name this as update status of leave. From the HTTP method, I am going to select this patch. While creating the connection, we had provided URI up to here, that is host address. Now we are going to provide the details for the related URI. Minimize this, I have already copied. At the end, apart from leave application, we should pass leave application template parameter. Go to endpoints, scroll down, that is this one. Let me copy this from here and paste it at the end within the flower brackets. Done. So we need to configure a request payload for this endpoint. Select that and we'll configure this endpoint to receive the response as well. Click on next. Specify the query parameter. We don't have any query parameter, but leave application ID is a template parameter or the path parameter. Click on next. From the schema, we need to select the JSON. Click on inline and we'll provide the sample JSON over here. I have already created Postman project for this. Let me copy and paste it over here. It will be same like how we created the details in business object. Click on next and the response again we will copy from Postman. Copy, select JSON sample, click on inline and paste it over here. Click on OK. Click on next and done. Let me save the integration. Now we need to map whatever details we get from the trigger over here. Edit this mapper, enable developer and XSLT mode. First of all, we need to pass the template parameter. Just drag this leave application ID and map it to leave application ID under template parameters. Validate. Next comes mapping other details like employee ID, leave start date, leave end date, approver 1, approver 2 and the status. Basically we will use this integration to update approver 1, like whether he has updated or not, approver 2 has updated or not, and finally the status. NA means not approved, A means approved. Click on validate mapper, click on close. So we won't validate the response what we get from this patch API. we will always assume this to be success. Now I will map here always the success in the response. Expand this request wrapper, right click create node, status I want this to be as S, message is always success. But in actual or real life scenario, you might need to track the status returned by patch. You need to check the status code, that is HTTP status code, whether it's 200 or not. Based on that, you need to carry out some business operations. Close the mapper. If you see it over here, there is a tracking variable error. I will add the tracking variable. I will add this leave application as my business identifier. Click on save. I will save this integration and activate the integration. We'll resume this after that. I have activated this integration. Let me test this integration. Click on run and test. Go to body. Here in our case, our leave application is 3. First, I will try to update the approver 1's details. Let me remove everything from here. I don't want to update any other details for this leave application. Only approver 1, I want to update this to approved. Click on test. I got status as success. Let me switch over to this business object. Go to data. Click on refresh. If you see it over here, all the details whatever were present over here got wiped off. We don't have any details present. Only our ID and approved is available. Now let me go back to this integration and populate other details as well. Now let me hit on this test button. Before that, let me make this approver 2 as approved. Approver 1 as also approved. And status I will make as A. Click on test. Click on refresh. If you see, now the details is showing as approver 1 has approved, approver 2 has approved, and the status is A. So like this, we can update Visual Builder business objects with the help of REST APIs from Oracle Integration. Is the assignment for you. You need to modify this leave application update status integration such that when I don't pass any details like approval to leave date, those things, only if I pass like leave application ID, this is the mandatory as we had seen. In case of patch, we need to pass leave application ID always. So if I remove everything and pass only the status saying like not approved or approved, so only those fields which we send in the request must be updated into the Visual Builder business object data fields. Like suppose I am passing leave application ID and the status as non-approved. In Visual Builder application, it must update only this status field. Previously, when we tested by removing all the other fields, it was entering null or empty data over here. So you need to modify this integration such that when we pass status, it should only update this status and it should not modify other fields. I will pause the video over here. You may take your own time and work on this assignment. We'll resume this video and we'll go through the solution. I hope you have worked on the assignment and modified this leave application update status integration and you have achieved the use case. Before going through the solution, I will first test this application by passing only leave application ID and the status. I'm clicking on this test button. If you scroll down, I'm getting the status as success. Let me first refresh this audit log. Let me expand the request what we sent to business object. As you can see in the request, this will go in the path parameter, and in the request if you see we are passing just the status. Now let's verify from the business object. Let me refresh this. As you can see, only this status field has been updated to non-approved. It has not modified any other details in any fields. Now let's look at the solution. The solution will go in this mapping action. Let me open the action and show you what I have done. Let me select this developer and XSLT mode. expand the request wrapper. If you see, I have dropped if condition before every XML element like employee ID, leave start date, end date, approver 1, approver 2. Accordingly, you can use the same use case in order to resolve this issue. If I click on one of the if condition, here just I'm checking whether employee ID in the request is not equal to null. That's it. I'm just checking these things in every if condition for that respective element. Like for leave start date, I'm checking whether the start date is empty or not. In our case, when we tested with status as non-empty, other fields were empty. In that case, it just checked this condition whether status is empty or not. When it found that it's not empty, it just mapped to that status in the target. Rest all were empty, so it didn't populate in the request payload which it sent to Visual Builder business object over the REST protocol. I hope you also have done the similar solution for this assignment. The next step in our leave application approval process implementation is we need to create a process application with the workflow. Like suppose I apply a leave application today wherein I enter my name, employee ID, my leave from date to date, for how many days I am applying the leave, then with the reason, approver 1, approver 2, those details will go in the leave application. Let's now look at how we can implement this workflow with the help of processes in Oracle integration. In order to save some time, I have already created this application, that is leave application process. Let me open this process application and walk you through the solution. Within this leave application process, I have created a approval process. Let me open this. So this process starts with the from. As you can see over here, let me first open this properties. Now, if you look at this, the starting point for this approval process is a form wherein a user can enter the details. Also, in our next class, we'll look at how we can invoke this form and auto-populate the details in the form with the help of Visual Builder application, wherein we will create a UI in Visual Builder wherein the user can enter the details and that details will auto-populate it over here in the process form and the workflow will go ahead. In this class, we'll just focus on the process application. As you can see, we have created this approval form. Let me just click on this edit. I will minimize this layout on the left side so that we get a bigger window wherein we can view the form. As you can see, I have dropped the few fields from the basic palette on the right side over here. And I have created 3 presentations over here. First, I will walk you through initiator presentation, approver 1 and approver 2. Like in any leave application process, according to the organization hierarchy, whenever an employee applies for a leave, approver 1 could be your project manager, approver 2 could be your organization's director or someone above your manager in the hierarchy of organization. So this use case I have considered. So this form basically is having a leave application ID. So this leave application ID is nothing but Visual Builder leave application ID, that is this one which we had seen in our previous class. So this we will use as a data store wherein all our details related to leave and all will reside. Eventually you can use your own database as well, but I am using Visual Builder business object. This is a leave application ID. This is of type integer. Employee ID is also number and the name is input text type. From date, these are the date parameters. If you see over here, these are required. And number of days, this is also required, but it's not mandatory. As of now, while testing this process application, user has to manually enter the number of days. But when we complete this end-to-end implementation, wherein we will build the Visual Builder application UI, at that time user has to enter only the from date and to date. Number of days will be auto-calculated. In the reason, user has to give the reason why they are applying for a leave. If it is for a sick leave, then user, when he or she comes back to the work, they can apply for any previously taken sick leaves. Approver 1, the user has to populate as of now in this process application. But in future class, this will be auto-populated and also we are going to hide this from the user. As per the database records, approver 1 should be your manager, project manager. Approver 2 could be your director or HR as per the leave you are taking for. And the status like approved, not approved, those things we can provide. This is the form for initiator, how it looks like when any initiator tries to apply for a leave. Now, when it's submitted, the request will go to approver 1. For approver 1, I have cloned the same form which initiator has used to apply for a leave, but here is a catch. If you see, all the fields over here are read only apart from approver 1. Suppose any request comes to me, I feel that it is not indented to me, then approver 1 can just provide the new approver 1's email ID and click on the resign. There will be a resign button. I will show you how it looks like, and status and all approver 1 cannot modify. If you see over here, there is a preview button over here. Let me click on this preview and it will show how the form will look like for a approver 1. If you see, all are read only apart from this. Here I can enter some email ID like this, dummy@email.com. Let me click on this close button. Rest of the details user approver 1 cannot modify. Let me check approver 2's form. Here all the details are grayed out, means those are read only fields in the approver 2's form. Now let me go back. Once the request is initiated by the initiator of the leave application process, first step is it will update the status in the database. In our case, it is the visualbuilder business object. Here it will update the status saying application is submitted for approver 1's approval. Next it will come for approver 1. Let me open this properties. Here if you see, we are assigning this to long summary. I will show you what does this long summary variable holds. If you see over here, the approver 1 will have approve, reject, more info or resign actions to be taken. Let me minimize this. And if you go on the form, you can see the form how it looks for approver 1, which we have already covered. So same form, but the presentation will be approver 1 presentation over here. Now let me go to data association and show you how it looks. In the data association, I'm just copying whatever form data initiator has inputted into the form to over here for the approver 1. Apart from that, whatever detail was there in the approver 1, that I'm populating over here in the long summary. If you see over here, this is not the approval form data. So this comes from the business object which I have created. Let me click on the data association over here. So here what I have done is I have created a data object over here. If you see under data object, this is the custom data object. Whatever user has or the initiator has entered into this form, I am having the backup in this input leave request details. So here whatever is approver 1, I am assigning over there. So this is the same data object which we will overwrite when the approver 1 thinks that he is not the intended approver and he modifies the form and reassigns the request to some other approver. So that at that time also it will overwrite this same data object. I am clicking on close. So if the approver 1 feels that it is not intended for him or her, then the approver 1 might click on the reassign. In case of reassign, request will come over here. If I show the data mapper over here, so whatever approver 1 modifies and provides the new approver 1 ID, it is updating our input request leave data object. This is the data object which I talked about just now. So it will override that and it will update the business object in visualbuilder saying approver 1 has reassigned the leave application to some other person. Then it will go back to new approver. Okay, then in case if that approver 1 requires more information, like suppose I applied for 10 days leave and approver 1 feels like there is no backup for that particular resource in the project for 10 days, then he or she might ask for reducing the number of leaves. Then they can enter the comment and ask for more information. Again it will update the business object with the help of integration. So whatever you see over here is the integration mark which we can drop from here under integrations. I will show you how I have configured integration shortly. So this will update the status over here saying more information requested by approver 1. Then it will be reassigned to the initiator. Initiator is someone who has initiated the application. Like suppose I am applying for a leave, it will come back to me. I have to edit the form and click on submit. Once it's submitted, it will go to approver 1 again. Suppose if the approver 1 again thinks that it's not proper, then they can reject. So again it will update the business object with the help of integration and terminate. As the business objects are accessible over REST APIs, I have made use of integration just to demonstrate how we can make use of process, visualbuilder and integration and build a solution with the help of Oracle integration. So this is because of that only I am using, but you can directly make use of visualbuilder REST APIs in process as well. No need of creating integration. Suppose if the approver clicks on approved, then it will update the business object status saying approver 1 has approved the request and it is further sent to approver 2's approval. Now approver 2 is not having any activity like case of approver 1 to reassign and all. Approver 2 can either reject or approve. Let me open the properties. In the actions, if you see, approver 2 can either approve or reject the application. Here in the form, you can see this is the approval form and the presentation is approver 2. The difference between approver 1 and approver 2 presentation, as we had seen, approver 1 had a flexibility to modify approver 1's email ID and click on reassign. Approver 2 just can review the leave form and either reject or approve. In case if the approver 2 rejects, then it will update the business object saying application got rejected and leave got cancelled. Then we can carry out our other process, like we can send to payroll and other finance departments. In case it is approved, it will update the business object saying the leave got approved. Then we can trigger any other use case like update the finance or update the payroll team. So this is the leave application process which I have created with the help of integrations to update Visual Builder application business object. In your case, if you are using database and all, that also will work fine. The solution to use business object or database is purely depends on your customer and the business requirement, how you have to implement the solution. Now let me test this process and show you how it looks like. One of the ways we can just publish and activate and test this process. But there is a flexibility to test this process in the developer environment as well. I'm clicking on test. I'm clicking on activate. If you see, I'm adding myself to all the roles because I had 3 lanes in the process like initiator, approver 1 and approver 2. I will show you after this. Click on this play. Now click on this approval process. Let me also open this visual builder and just refresh. Now if you see approver 1, approver 2, all these details, how it looks. Now we are in the testing window for leave application process. If you see, there is a play mark over here. We have to click on this and select the role and click on play. I am the initiator, so it is showing me my user ID. Start application for approval process. So leave application ID is nothing but this is the leave application ID. Let me give 3. Employee ID is 100. Employee's name is Stephen King. So those details you can get from the business object over here. Stephen King, it's over here. Employee number 100. Stephen King, from date I am giving 24th of July. To date is 26th of July. Let me enter the number of dates. In actual business use case, user doesn't have to populate this too. It will be auto calculated. In our next class, we will see how we can do that with the help of Visual Builder. Reason I am giving attending conference. Then approver 1 and approver 2 email IDs we need to populate over here as this is dynamically mapped in the process application. Same like how I have explained while explaining the code. I'm pasting the approver 1 and approver 2 details over here. Status, anything you can populate, but it's not required. If you want to attach any attachments, you can just upload it over here clicking on this upload file. Once done, click on submit. Application got submitted. If you see, it is loading. Now the color of this arrow will change and it is sent to integration. Integration has completed its job and it is now at the approver 1 end. Now first of all, we'll go to business object and refresh this business object. The status should change as it is showing status is assigned to approver 1. And if you go to integration and refresh, we should receive one integration instance over here. If you see, we have received one integration instance. Fine, let's go back to process. Now if you see, the play button is over here. Let me click on this play. Selecting my user from the role and clicking on play. On clicking on this play button, it will ask to take the action, approve, reject, form, info, more info or the reassign. Let me click on launch form and show you how the form will look like for the approver 1. As you can see, approver 1 can only view this form. All these fields over here are read only apart from approver 1 field. Here if approver 1 feels that they are not the intended approvers for that particular employee, then they can just override this with the new approver details and click on reassign. I'm clicking on reassign. If you see over here, it is loading and it should go like this path. Let's wait. It has come to gateway and it should come over here. It has come data mapper and it is gone to integration. If you see, the color will change like that. I'm coming to know what is happening with the flow. Now if you see, again it has come to approver 1. Now let's check how it has updated the business object status. As you can see, the status is updated to reassign the task by approver 1. If you want, you can further customize the details. In our case, approver 1 modified the approver 1 with the same ID. I don't have any other user, so I'm unable to show this use case. I'm having only one ID for this instance. In your case, if you want to add any other users approver email address, you can provide it over here. So let us resume. Let's check whether it has invoked the integration. Let me refresh. If you see, we have received one instance. So the next use case what we will see is we will click on this more info. I'm clicking on this approver 1 play button. Click this play, launch the form. When the user or the approver 1 clicks on this launch form, they will come to know what is the new approver 1's email address or who is the approver 1 for this particular employee. Again, if that approver feels that he is not the intended approver, then still they can modify and reassign. That we had already seen. This time I'm asking for more info. Before that, more info is needed. I will just comment out. Post the comment. So these comments will be associated with the process ID which will be generated for every process instances created. The user can view this and update accordingly. I'm clicking on more info. If you see, it is loading over here. It should come to exclusive gateway and it should come over here, this flow. Let's see how it goes. It has come to exclusive gateway. It has come to integration over here. And it is now in the reassign. Let's see how the status is updated in Visual Builder. Let me refresh. If you see the status, here it's saying approver 1 has asked for more information. It has overwritten this. Ideally, it shouldn't do. It's basically the mapping issue. We need to work on this. So basically, it should only update the status. Approver 1 has asked for more information. Now let me open this play button and open the form. Click on this play button, launch the form. So the user will come to know what is the comment added by the approver 1. So in real life, every employee will have its own username that will be reflecting over here. In my case, I am the approver 1, approver 2 and the initiator as well. So it is showing like this. I am not having any other IDs available for this instance. So if you click on this history, you will come to know what and all happened with this process. Now what I will do is I will reduce this from date to 2 date to 5. Now the difference between 24 and 25 is number of days is 2. So this looks fine. If any comments we need to add, I need to add like corrected the dates. Click on post comment. So it will come over here next to approver 1's comment. Once done, what I will do is I will click on submit. If you see, it's loading over here. So once done, if you see, the play button has come over here. Now what I will do is I can either view the form or I can straight away click on the actions. This time I won't go to the form. I will straight away select on approve. I'm selecting the approve. It will go to exclusive gateway and it will update this integration. With the help of that, it will update the business object. If you see, the color has changed and it is gone to approver 2. Now approver 2 can either reject or approve. We had seen in the case of approver 1, it got approved, more info has asked and it has reassigned, but we have not seen on reject. Now what we'll do is we will make approver 2 to reject this application. Now let's verify from the business object what happened with the application. So let me refresh this. If you see, the status has changed like approved by approver 1 and assigned to approver 2. If you see over here next to approver 1, it will show approved and next to approver 2, nothing has updated. Now what we'll do is this approver can either view the form or straight away can click on action. But let's see the form how it looks like for the approver 2. As we had seen at the beginning, for approver 2, this form should be read only. So approver 2 doesn't have a provision to modify approver 2's email address, so it's constant. Now what approver 2 will do is, approver 2 will write rejected. So this approver 2 is not going to approve the leave application, and click on reject straight away. Done. Now if you see, it shouldn't go to this flow, rather it should go to rejected flow. Now if you see, it's loading. It has come to exclusive gateway and it has went to this data mapper. It has come to integration and finally it has reached to end. If you see, it has reached this end. Icon has changed. Now let's verify what happened with this business object. Now if you see, it is still showing approved by approver 1 and assigned to approver 2. So there seems to be some issue with the mapping which I have created. This we need to fix. It's over here. Okay. So that we need to modify. So like this, we can build a process application with the workflow wherein we have multiple hierarchies. We can make use of integration to carry out any business use case like updating any database with the information. We can update Oracle Cloud Infra, any resource. We can update any services with the help of integration, or we can straight away make use of any REST API in the process and invoke. So let me close this test window. Now we will see how we can fix this error. This I have added purposefully so that I can demonstrate how we can modify any status. So that was under here. So data mapper 2 is responsible for modifying the status. So there is an error over here. We need to remove this. Expand and put the status over here. Rejected by approver 2. This looks fine. Just click on apply. And if you see the data mapping over here in the integration, so whatever is in the status is mapped to over here in the body. So like this. So apart from this, we will add approver 2's details as well over here. So whatever is in our input request approver 2 field, that will be going over here. Let me apply and save. The source code for process and integration will be available in the resource section for this class. Please check out and import and make use of this in order to replicate the same in your instance. In our next class, we will see how we can build a UI with the help of visualbuilder application, and there the user will enter the details and visualbuilder will pull some of the details from the business object directly and send across to process, and process will make of integration in order to update the status back to business objects. In this class, we are going to learn how we can create a user interface with the help of Oracle visualbuilder applications, with the help of which a user can initiate a leave request and send for his manager and HR's approval, like how we have seen in our previous class with the help of leave application process. Our user interface will invoke the same leave application process which we had walked through in our previous class. Only instead of initiating the request with the help of process forms, they will have a neat and clean user interface built right into the employee management application. So we'll look at how we can do that. But before proceeding with that, I have modified this code. Apart from form trigger, I have added message trigger. If you expand these events, there is the option called as message start. I have dragged and dropped it over here. If I show you the properties, if you see over here, I have made use of the same object in order to receive the request over a message. If we expose our process over message protocol, then this process will be able to get the request from integrations from visualbuilder as well. Also, we can invoke this with the help of web services, SOAP web service as well as REST web service. That also we can do. Coming to the data association, as we have exposed this process in order to receive the same message pattern what the form uses, so I can directly map this to the form data object what we have over here, and rest of the things are same like what we have done in our previous form case. I am just having the backup of all the data whatever has come to this process over message or even the form into this input leave request, which is the custom business object which I have created. That is the only change which I have done. After that, you just need to click on this publish and activate the process. I hope you already know how to activate a process and publish the process. Now let me switch over to the Visual Builder application and see how we can create the user interface. I will show you what modifications I have done for this employee management application. So under the manage tab over here, I have added one more section called as employee management. Earlier we had this edit employee details with the help of table. This we had seen. Now what I have done is I have added the collapsible. If you see over here, collapsible. Then within the form layout, I have added two links. Apply leave is the one on click of which it will take me to the leave application page. If you see, it has taken me to this screen where the employee can search for the employee ID from the drop down from date to date, reason, and click on apply. So once user clicks on this apply, the request will go to this process. So if you see, it will be similar like how we have tested in our previous class. Instead of form, request will come as a message. Then our integration, that is this integration, it will update the status in the business object. So all details will be stored in the business object. You can use the database as well. Then it will come to the approver. Approver can reassign by modifying the approver one email address. They can ask for more information. Again, it will go to the initiator. If I have initiated the request, it will go back to me. If the approver rejects, it will update in the business object with the appropriate message like what we have seen in our previous class. Then if approver 1 approves, then it will update the status in the business object. Then it will go to approver 2. Approver 2 has only option to approve or reject. Based on that, the actions will be taken. Now let me switch over to the Visual Builder application. So I'm here in the applications page. First we need to modify this main manage employee page. What I have done is I have added this employee management heading within this collapsible. So this is the collapsible which I have added. Within that I am having the form layout. So within the form layout, what I have done is I have added two columns. Previously we had added the input criteria over here when we worked with form layout. So this is another use case where you can add hyperlinks. So next, if you scroll down this structure towards the right, if you see there are two hyperlinks. One is leave apply and another is a sign up. So leave apply is the one which will take us to the leave page. That is this one, leave request page or the leave application. Just we need to drag the hyperlink component from here and drop it over here and rename this text and create the event. Go to events, click on plus event and create on click event. So whenever the user clicks on this event, what it has to do is it has to route us to the leave application page. So in this action chain, I have only the navigate action. So if you see over here, it will take me to main leave apply page. So this is the new page which I have created. So you can also click on this plus and create the page. You can name something like this, main leave apply. Now as it is already opened, I will click straight away main leave apply page. So main leave apply page, in this, if I scroll this structure over here, I have added first of all a validation group. So validation group, within that whatever we add, basically the form layout. So whatever components we add within the form layout, it will validate. So in our future classes, we will learn how we can check whether all the elements are valid. The data, whatever is entered by the user is valid. As of now, we have not seen that, but in future we will learn that as well. First is the heading. So this is the heading leave application. All those things we had seen, it is of H6 type. Next is this label. What I have done is I have added the label value. Within that, this is the label and the select single. So the data for this will come from the SDP which we created going to quick start, add options, and I have selected this employee SDP for which the data will come from this employees business object. That is this one. So user can view the details. The value for that will be ID and the label will be first name. Let me switch over to the main leave apply. I will switch over to this live tab so that you can come to know what is happening. So if the user clicks on this arrow button, so they can see the first name as a label. Again, we had seen how we can customize this. As of now, it is coming only first name. You can modify this application to show first name as well as second name or the last name as well. That you can play around with the data. So like this, the user will get. Next is this input date field. So this also is available over here. If you just search with input over here, you will get input date over here. Just drag and drop within this form. So one more thing what I wanted to show you is if you click on this label, for label there is an option. If you ask me a question like there are two sections over here in the same row, in the form layout, but in the first row there is only one. This is because if I click on this first element, that is the label value, I have made that column must span across two columns using this col span attribute. For rest of the things it is default. What we had set for the form layout, if you see, I'm clicking on this form layout, it is saying max columns 2 and columns are 2 as per that. If you want to explicitly tell, like how we have done in employee ID or in the case of this reason, I will click on this reason, that is again a label value. Here again I have told this reason must spread across two columns. So in the form layout, when we split the form layout into two columns, so this will be one column and this will be one column. When we tell explicitly it spread this across two columns, then it will look something like this. User will have option to select the name and the date, that is 25 to I will give 27 July, and the reason I will give as a sick leave. I was sick on this date, and user can click on apply. When the user clicks on this apply, it will initiate this process, that is this one. Now before going ahead, whenever the user enters something in the input field, we must hold that value in some variable. For that I am going to this variables tab. I have created one custom variable, that is of type this one, leave application data where. If I scroll down, it is basically having all the fields whatever is required for process, like the approver 1, approver 2, employee ID, from date, leave application ID, reason, status, to date, and total number of days. Now you will ask me, in the process form we had approver 1 and approver 2 entered manually, but here from the page we are not entering. This I will tell you how I have mapped. On click of this button, what action chain will do is it will pull the manager and HR detail for this particular employee and it will send at the runtime. User doesn't have to select those. At real time, you might have seen at your own organization that it's not always necessary to select your manager who has to approve. You just have to initiate from date to date you were on leave and the reason. That's it. Rest the system will take care. That is the same approach which we are following. Let me switch over to this design view. If you click on select single and go to data, I am assigning the value whatever is entered by user or selected to this leave application data where employee ID which I have created. Similarly with the date and other fields as well, whatever user enters, it will be stored in their respective fields within this leave application data variable. Now let me switch over to action chain which is being triggered as soon as the user clicks on this apply. Select this apply, go to events. So again this is a button and I have added the icon over here. All those things we had seen in our course so far. Click on this leave apply action chain. Let me just zoom in. It is not necessary to run in parallel. I have just added this in order to tell you how we can use few of the actions over here. We will be covering most of the actions and the activities in VBCS in this course, but it will not be possible to cover each and every in detail. So run in parallel will be used to run these flows in parallel. If I have some flow to happen simultaneously, another flow has to happen, then that also will be taken care. As of now this is having only one flow. At the end what it does is it will reset our leave application data where. We will see how it works when we touch this application. First thing is I am assigning few data over here. If you have seen, user will enter from date and to date, but the user doesn't enter how many total number of days user is applying for the leave. For that I have written a JavaScript code over here. Let me expand this leave application data where approver 1 and approver 2, as I told, user doesn't have to send those details while applying for a leave. I have hard coded the values over here, but at real time this data will come from some database or from some other system wherever the assignment between the employee and the manager persists. So here I am hard coding. So for total number of days, let me click on this and show you. This is the code I have written. Again this I have written just to demonstrate that not always we should write a JavaScript function in VBCS. If our requirement is like this, then we can write JavaScript code here as well. Like what it does is it will convert to date with the help of this new date of, it will subtract with the from date, like 27th of July minus 25th of July. Then it is sealing and taking the absolute value and is dividing with this number. So all the solutions you will get from the Stack Overflow and from other platforms as well, or you can derive your own method in order to fetch the difference between the dates. Also, there is a possibility to make use of Visual Builder inbuilt functionalities in order to derive those differences between the dates. This I have used just to demonstrate that we can make use of JavaScript over here. Let me expand this create leave application where. So this is required, as we had seen in our previous case, when we try to create a leave application with the help of Postman. So this is the body or the JSON body which I am preparing with the help of this variable, wherein we will send the approver 1 to employee ID, leave date, etc. For more details, you can check our first class where we build the integration, and before proceeding with building the integration, we had seen with the help of Postman how we can create a leave request in the business object of Visual Builder with the help of Postman, that is with the post based REST API. I am clicking on cancel. In order to create that request, I have created the type over here. First of all, if you see this create leave application type, I have created this from the endpoint, that is business object leave application, and in that I have selected this request. This is of type post. It is exactly similar, like I will show you one use case over here. Expand the business object, expand the leave application, and click on this post. Click on next. So this is the same thing what I have made use of in order to create this request. I am clicking on cancel. Go to variables. We have created the type, and now we have created the variable, that is create leave application, where this is of type create leave application type. All those things we had seen earlier. This is just a walkthrough on what we had learned in real life, how we can implement. Now let me go back to my actions. Once we have prepared the data in order to push those details to business object with the help of REST API, next we have to make a call to REST API. I will be clicking this call REST action over here, and if I click on the select in point, I have to expand this business object, expand the employee. I have selected this employee. This is the same thing what I have made use of. So next I am mapping the create leave application, this variable which we had constructed in our assign activity over here. The same thing I am passing. Next, once done, what I am doing is I am getting the employee's name with the help of employee ID, because the user will just select the name from here, and in the background only the ID of the employee will be stored in that variable. So with the help of that, I am making a call to business object and fetching the name, because in the form approver has to know who has initiated the request. With the help of ID, not everyone might know what employee ID belongs to what employee. Suppose if in our organization, if there are more than 1 lakh employee, nobody will know what is our employee ID. So everyone in our project or the team might know by our name. So once we get the response from this get employee business object, again this is the call REST. I have selected get employee by get employee ID. If you see over here employee ID, I am passing what we have in this leave application, where that is under employee ID. This we will get from the UI. So once we get everything, I have made use of this start process. Just drag this and drop it over here and select the interface. I am clicking on this select. Expand this process alias and select the start event. Next thing is we need to map the details. Like in our previous class, we had seen what and all details are required. We need to pass over here. If I show you with the form, I am clicking on this preview. Here the requester has to send the application ID. This will be auto generated from the business object. Employee ID, employee has to share. Name will be auto generated. Date, from date to date, number of days will be auto generated. Reason has to be provided by the user or the leave initiator. Approver 1, approver 2 auto populated at runtime, and the status will be assigned at runtime as and when the process moves ahead in this workflow. Let me switch over to the application. All the details we are mapping like this. Let me click on cancel. So once done, if the process has been initiated, we will get a confirmation. In case of any error while invoking the process, then we will be notified. So this is the simple step while creating the action chain. At the beginning, you might feel this is difficult, as and when you practice more and get comfortable with processes, integration, Visual Builder, it will be very easy for you. If you had seen over here, if you click on this select, you might have seen process alias. In that we are getting approval process. So it might not get for you. We have to do some workaround for this. If you have seen, there is the section called as processes. If you click on this, I am getting this approval process. Now before getting this approval process, we have to make sure we have connected to our process application. If you have not done, we have to do it from here. Go to services, backends, click on this process application. Here we have to make sure that we have connected to the right environment in order to access the processes deployed. I am using this environment where I have deployed my process application. And if you notice, I have enabled the override backend as well. Let me go back to processes. Once you have created the backend, the next step is click on this plus. Once you get the pop-up, you need to search with your project name or the application name. If I search with leave, I am getting my application. That is, I am making use of this leave application 2. We need to select any one application. If you want, we can rename and click on add. So once we click on add, so it will be created over here like this, what we see. That's the only step what we need to follow. Before ending this class, I want to just highlight, it is not always required to expose our process over message protocol. Even we can expose our form and we can consume from the visual builder, or visual builder can invoke our application even when it is exposed our form as well. I wanted to just demonstrate like we can get the information both from form as well as over a message as well by doing this. If you look at the documentation over here, start and complete process from visual builder. Here it is saying message start events with simple type parameters is supported. Message start events with complex business type parameters are supported. Form start events which can use a mixture of types as parameter. So form start as well as message start both are supported. So even if we delete this section, we should be able to invoke our process from visual builder. In our next class, we will learn how we can test this application end to end, which involves visual builder, integration as well as the process. In this class, we are going to learn end to end our mini project which we have built for leave application process. In order to start this application in preview mode, what I have done is I have just clicked on this preview icon over here in the application, which has opened a fresh screen in the new browser tab, which we already know in our course so far how we can do that. So next thing what we need to do is we have to click on this manage on the navigation list. If you see over here, there are two collapsibles. This is the new collapsible which I have created, which is employee management. Under employee management, as of now we have only apply leave. Next we will see the sign up and lot many things are going to happen in the future course. I'm clicking on this leave apply. So this will open up the leave application. So first thing what we have to do is we have to select the employee ID. Even this could be automated. The logged in user, it could be used to auto populate this employee ID. That also we can do, but that's not the scope of this class. Next I will select the date. I will select previous date like 21st of July and to date will be 23rd of July. I will give sick leave. So post taking leave, I am applying for the leave. Once everything is populated, I am just clicking on this apply. We will get a message saying leave request sent assigned to approver now. Let me go to Visual Builder application. So this is the business object for leave application which will be populated whenever a leave application is registered, and also the status will be updated as and when the request moves ahead in the process application in the workflow. Let me refresh this and see whether our application has come or not. It's over here for the employee ID 101. Also, if you have noticed, once we click on this apply button, the details whatever were entered just got wiped off. So this is what happens when we use the reset action in our action chain. Let me go back to this Visual Builder. So this should probably have created a task in process. Let me go to process. Let me refresh. If you see, I have got one application, that is leave application. I will click on this. It will have a lot of details like the leave application ID, employee ID. As an approver 1, as we had seen, we won't be able to modify those details. Only approver 1 details we can modify as an approver now. If you see, number of days is calculated automatically. User had entered only from day and to date on the employee ID. So this leave application ID, it got auto generated. That is nothing but it is this one from the business object. I will scroll down. If you see, approver 1 and approver 2 got auto populated. This we had made possible by assigning in the action chain. Now what I will do is I will ask to modify the leave. I will write the comment like modify leave reason and click on post. What I will do is I will ask for more information now, so that it will go back to who has initiated the request. So in my case, initiator, approver 1, approver 2 are all same. As I had told in my previous class, I have only one user ID for this instance. So if I refresh, it will come back to me. But here we will have the editable form. As you see over here, only difference between approver 1 and initiator is the fields will be editable for the initiator of this leave request. All those details look fine, only reason we need to modify. I will giving slick leave hyphen headache. Fine, click on submit. So this task will go off from the screen. Let me refresh. In my case, approver 1 and approver 2 are both same. Also, if you look at what is happening in the business object, here it is saying approver 1 has asked for more information. So we had provided the details and we have again submitted. Let's see what is happening. It has again come back to me for the approval. I'm clicking this. If you see, the reason has been updated by the initiator. So this looks fine. I will click on approve. Even the approver can reject or reassign to someone that we had already seen. By modifying the approver 1 email ID, click on reassign, it will be reassigned to someone else in the approver. Accordingly, the status will be modified. All those things you can practice. If you have enrolled for our class from Udemy or any other platform, then the source for those applications like VBCS, process application and integration will be readily available under resource section. You can just export and import into your environment and practice. I am clicking on approve. So as the approver 1, I have approved the task. Also we'll look at integration instances are creating or not. I am here in the monitoring console for this leave application integration. If you see, the integration is running fine. So this is the reason Visual Builder business object is getting updated. If I go to Visual Builder, this approver 1 asks for more information must be updated to approver 1 has approved. Click on refresh. Now it is saying approved by approver 1 and assigned to approver 2. In the filter criteria, I have hidden this approver 1 and approver 2. If you just enable, you will get those details. Suppose if you are wondering why approver 1 and approver 2 are not visible over here. So if you want that to be visible, just check mark those. Now let me go back to my process and refresh. In my case, approver 2 is also myself. I should get the request. I'm clicking on this. If you see over here, approver 1 has updated. So if you scroll down, you will get the comments as well, whoever has approved. And approver 2 will be able to view this approver 1 and approver 2 details. As a approver 2, nothing the approver 2 can modify in the form. So as a approver 2, I am clicking on this approve. Even if I want, I could have updated the comment. Now let me see in the Visual Builder, refresh the business object. If you see over here, I am getting the status like approved by both the approvers. If this is the case, we can carry ahead the business use case like update the finance, payroll and other stuffs whenever both the approvers have approved the request, so that the earned leave or paid leave will be deducted from the balance, or if not there, then reasonable amount of salary will be deducted from current month or next month's salary. That will be possible if we build our solution further. So like this, we can build a solution for leave application end to end with the help of integrations, Visual Builder and process. This was just a mini project to demonstrate how we can develop a full stack project with the help of Oracle integration. Like this, you can take any common use cases and practice more so that you can refine your Oracle integration skills further and take up your next assignments in Oracle integration and even crack your interviews very easily. We thank all our subscribers and viewers for showing interest in watching our videos which we post over YouTube regularly. Here is the appeal from our side. If you have liked any of our content, please support us by buying us a coffee. I will provide the link to buy us a coffee in the description of this video. When you click on the buy me coffee link, it will take you to this screen wherein you can opt for the coffees, like one coffee is equivalent to $1. You can select 1, 3, 5 and you can customize the coffees what you want to offer to us. Also, we do have a membership program. Click on this membership tab over here and you can opt for the membership and you can watch out the benefits what you get for each membership. For more details, you can anytime come over here and watch out the details. Also, you can have a look at our courses on Udemy. We are having 2 courses on Udemy. One is Learn Integration in Oracle Integration from scratch. Also, we do have a course on Oracle Visual Builder, that is to learn from scratch. Once again, we would like to thank you. If you have not subscribed our channel previously, please do subscribe our channel and please support us.